Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a full flip through of my journal or journals for 2019. For most of the year I use this blue Loisture 1917 journal. This is actually the official bullet journal. And this journal has definitely served me well for the year. I got all the way to the end of October with this before I ran out of space, and the cover definitely held up as well. And it was a great beginner journal, so if you're looking for a good one to try out, this might be a good option. And then for the rest of the year, I used this thinner paperback notebook, which is actually the kind of notebook that I used to use all the time. So here are some of my past ones that I've used. Those ones are the Moleskine ones, but this is another brand that I got off of Amazon that came in a pack of 6. And it's just perfect to have this smaller version so that I don't have a mostly empty journal for just 2 months of the year. And these are also great for beginners, I think, because you don't have to commit to one type of journal and they're super affordable and you can just fill them in as you need to. So since this is the official bullet journal, there are a few pages and extra things in here, like this inside cover that has the key, and it also has some tips and a built-in index for you. So if you use this is nice to have already all gridded in for you. I actually ended up not using the index too much, so I stopped at page 59 and then kind of just gave up on it because I just didn't find it useful. But if you do use it, it's kind of nice to just have that in there for you. It also gives you a few pages for your future log. I ended up not using that at all, so I'm not sure if this is something that I'll bring into my 2020 journal just because it's something I didn't really use that much. Then I have the page on the left here, which I use to count out all of the rows and columns in the notebook, just so that when I'm making my layouts, I don't have to count the boxes every time. And this was super useful, but I think that one thing I'll include for next year is to make it even more useful is to divide these numbers by 2s, 3s, and 4s so that when I'm doing my weekly layouts and I have to split my page even more, then I don't have to go and do that math every time. And then I have some trackers on the right side for some various things. And for the next spread, I have this list that I do every year, which is 25 things while 25, or just insert whatever year you are. So I filled this in for the year, and I think it's just a nice way to remember big and small things, just to look back and remember the details of each year that you go through. And then on the right, I have one of my favorite documentation pages, which is my travel tracker. And I started off with it blank with all of these in stack shapes. And then I filled in each of them with a little illustration of places that I visited throughout the year. And this definitely doesn't have to be designated for big trips. I didn't do too much traveling for the year, so most of these trips are local trips or just work trips. But I think it's still fun to celebrate all of the places that you're able to go, whether they're big trips or small ones. I have a few more lists that I included in the beginning of the year, such as TV and movies that I wanted to watch, and also some meal ideas. And I didn't use these too much, honestly, because I kind of just forgot that they were there, so I probably won't include those in my future journals. But one tracker that I really loved having was my book page on the right here, which you can see I completely filled in, which is really great, and I'm really proud of that because that means that I read a lot of books for this year. And this is definitely one that I'll want to bring into my 2020 journal. Whether it's this bookshelf illustration or not, I'm not sure yet, but I do really love how it came out, and I think it's really fun and colorful. So that's the end of all of my collection and starting pages for the year, so I'm going to get into all of the monthly and weekly layouts now, starting off with January, of course. And since this is my first year doing sort of more illustration in my bullet journal, I started off with a very simple theme, just doing a big header and filling in some snowflakes. So this is a really good one and easy to draw if you're a beginner or new to illustration. And then on the next page, I have my monthly calendar, and I figured out very quickly that this calendar that I made was way too small and I didn't really have enough space in each of these boxes to be useful and to fill in information. So I just made sure that in the future that I separated those other miscellaneous boxes into different spreads. At the beginning of the year, I started off with just doing one weekly layout for the entire month. So you'll see that all of these ones for January are the same. And I like how this just keeps it really easy, especially if you're just starting off. And it also keeps everything really coherent for the month so that when you're flipping through your journal, it's very clear that all of these belong to the same month since I'm using the same layout and that same blue color. So it's really nice because I like to do all of my planner setups at the beginning of the month, and then for the rest of the month you don't have to worry about it. So if you ever feel pressured to do something new and creative every week, just know that you definitely don't have to. Just find one weekly layout that you like that works for you and stick to that. Then I tried out this snow globe habit tracker, which is really fun to look at, and I like this one because you can't really tell if you miss a day, because I'm really bad at using habit trackers actually. So if I miss a couple of days, then nobody can tell. Then I have my gratitude list, and then the first of my favorites pages where I tried doing some doodling and lettering. This was my first time trying it and I really liked it, so I tried to do this for most of the months of the year. And it's really fun to look back on what I was watching or eating at that time of the year, because there are these things in your life that sometimes seem so little at the moment, but when you look back even just a year later, it really helps you to paint a picture of what you were doing and going through at that time. In between my monthly layouts, I have some brain dump and journaling pages, and I definitely like to sprinkle in some journaling pages in between my months, so I'll just flip through these really quickly since a lot of those are personal. Just know that I definitely leave space for that in my journal, and used my notebook kind of as a mix of a journal, a planner, and a scrapbook. So for February, I have this moon and stars theme with a purple color. And that's another thing that I did when I was first starting off, is just sticking with one color for each month. Because when you're first starting off and you're dealing with illustrations and layouts and all of that, it's just easier to stick with one color so that you can concentrate on playing with the other things. And then as you get better with this, you can add in more colors and play with that a little more. And another thing I really liked for this month is including these mini habit trackers up at the top of each weekly layout, just because I don't tend to use my habit trackers much when they're on their own page because I forget to flip to them. So since I use my weekly spreads every single day, I like having a little reminder to fill in my habit tracker at the top of the page. A few more journaling pages, and then another favorites page. I like these pages because it just gives you a chance to doodle and to practice your illustration skills a little bit. Then I have my March theme here where I did a nice lettering page on the left side, which I really like because it fills in the spread really nicely. And I did this like foresty pine theme for the month. This is the month where I just start dipping my toes into doing different kinds of weekly layouts, so it's not too much of a difference here. I did basically the same layout, but I would switch out what kind of decorative element I have on the edges, but it's nice to just change out one thing at a time until you get the hang of it. Then I have another tracker and favorites page. I really liked this layout on the left, keeping track of different sections. And then on the right, I obviously never filled in this favorites page. I just wrote all the favorites that I had for the month on a post-it and never actually got around to illustrating it. So maybe I will go ahead and do this after I film this video. Quite a few more journaling pages, and then here's my April theme. I did this floral wreath with the spring quote on the left side, which I really like, and I'm thinking I have to do another floral theme soon because I really like how that floral wreath looks. Then a simple big monthly calendar here, and then again one of these tracker and favorites layouts. And then this month I started playing with different layouts for each week. So definitely just stick to your own pace and work things in as you need to. But even though all my weekly layouts are different, they're still all pretty simple. So I like that I was able to play around with different grids and just find out what works for me. I think this is the first layout where I played around with collaging, and I liked it so much that you'll see that I end up including this a lot into my future layouts. So again, when you experiment with new things, you just might find some things that you love and really get to know your own style better. Here's a little spring bucket list that I had fun filling in, and I did almost everything on this list, so I think that's pretty good. I think this is another list I'll have to redo for another season, or maybe just repeat again for next year. Few journaling pages, and then here's my May theme with a bubble tea theme. I really love this one. I think this is the first theme that I did that has so much color in it. As you can see from my past ones, I really stuck to one color for each month because I thought that that would look more cohesive. And while that's definitely true, I really love how this one is so colorful and fun, and I think it brought a lot of life to my journal. And then this tracker page, which is my favorite of the whole year. I just thought this idea of using stamp cards like you would get at a coffee or bubble tea shop was too good of an opportunity to pass up, even though I don't really use habit trackers too much. And obviously I was a little ambitious with putting jogging on there at all because I didn't do that at all, but I still had fun turning to this page every day and just filling in what I could with little stickers or stamps or just coloring them in. So here's the start of June with this strawberry theme. I think this month is such a beautiful theme because it almost looks floral from a distance, but once you get closer you see that they're strawberries, and I mean, who doesn't like strawberries, right? They just make you happy because it just feels like spring. Now we're into July. And here I'm bringing in that collaging element into this month, and I really tried to stretch myself this month and play with a lot of different elements. As you can see in the monthly layout, you can see I did this blackout calendar, which is very different, and I also included collaging and illustration, so a lot going on this month. And even though I really love the look of this blackout calendar, it wasn't super useful for me because I always had to have a white gel pen, which I usually didn't have on me, so I couldn't use it as much as I wanted to. But it was really pretty to look at. And then, like I said, I really tried to stretch myself creatively this month, just playing around with different layouts and adding in a lot of those elements, and even bringing in some stickers and things from my collection, because I'm sure we all have a huge stationery collection with stickers and washi, so it's nice to just be able to use that in your bullet journal. Here's my August cover page where I did a pastel pencil illustration and cut that out and collaged it into my notebook. And then I used those same pastel pencils in the pages for this whole month. I really like how it has a softer effect than using markers. It kind of reminds me of like an old vintage wallpaper or something. Looking back, I really do love these colorful pages I did, so I don't know why I was so against them when I first started off, but now I think the more color the better. More journaling pages, and then here's my September layout. This is like a shadow dancer theme, which is really pretty. You can see on the camera how it just shines because I use these metallic markers, and it just looks like a really nice fashion illustration. I think it's gorgeous. It was definitely more of a stretch for me doing such a girly, feminine theme, but apparently a lot of people liked it, so I'm glad that I did it. And then I have a couple of travel layouts to do some planning for some trips I had coming up, and I have a video just dedicated to different types of travel layouts, which includes this one and the next one, so you can check that out. Here's another page, and this trip sadly got canceled, so I didn't get to fill in this page, but it was fun to make it anyway, and I'll probably recreate it for another trip. This weekly layout has a really big, striking illustration. Very different for me, but I like how it turned out. You'll see I use a lot of washi tape in my weekly spreads because it's a really quick and easy way to fill in any empty spaces you have. And here's another one of my favorite spreads. I didn't have a lot for this month, so I just made everything really big and then finished it off with some big lettering, and I like how graphic this page turned out to be. Then for October, I had this donut theme, which I really had fun doing because you get to play around with so many different toppings and coloring options. And I also played around with some really fun trackers for this month as well, just really making the most out of this theme, creating this box of donuts for my habit trackers, and then that big sprinkled eclair for the mood tracker. So that's just about where I ran out of space in this journal for the year. There are some extra pages in the back that are built into this journal that kind of just explain how the bullet journal system works. So that's great if you're new to this, but I honestly kind of just wish that they were blank because I would have rather just had those blank pages. But since I only had 2 months left for the year, I brought in my second journal, which is going to be a much smaller paperback journal, since I knew that I would end up with a lot of empty pages if I started another journal that was this size. So I just dove right into this journal by starting off with my November setup. I didn't transfer any of my collection or yearly pages over to this notebook since it would just be for a couple of months. And I played around with this extra special cover for November since it was going to be the cover of the notebook as well. And then I went into this watercolor plaid theme. This one was really fun because I love bringing watercolor elements into whatever I can, even if that means I have to do it on a separate paper and then collage it into my notebook. And for this month, I really experimented with bringing different elements, such as using these vellum pieces and then the watercolor pieces. I just found it really fun to experiment for that month. Then I have a couple of journaling pages and then into December. If you're subscribed to my channel, you should have already seen this video a couple of weeks ago, my December setup. And I think it's safe to say this is one of the most popular videos I've done this year, which is really awesome to see because this Fair Isle cross-stitch pattern took me a really long time and I had to do it a few times to get it completely right to the way that I liked it. But in the end, I really love the way it turned out. And I think you guys did too, so that makes me really happy. And that pretty much finishes off my entire flip through for 2019. If you were here along for the ride since the beginning, or if you joined partway through, I am really grateful for those who have supported me and left me nice comments or given me a thumbs up on my videos. And I'm really excited for 2020's bullet journal setup, which I will have up soon, so make sure you're subscribed and turn on your notification bell so that you can be notified when that video comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!